we're so glad that you've taken the time to view this video. This video is our version of our parent education night. So sorry that we couldn't be together, but we're going to do our best to involve you and answer the questions that have come to us. By the way, I'm Sheila Locklear. I'm the director here at Open Door School. This happens to be my 25th year at Open Door. Started as a lead teacher in full day, have been your master teacher, program coordinator, and now your director. With me today, I have two great teachers, Nadia from the full day class and Susie in the office manager and also a former teacher. I'm going to start with Susie, let her introduce herself, and then let Nadia introduce herself, and then we're going to kick back to Susie to start us off.
Hi, I am Susie Moore. I have been at Open Door collectively for about 14 years now. My children all came to school here, and my background is elementary education, K-6 certification, and child development. I'm very passionate about the Open Door philosophy, and I'm excited to talk about it today. And I'm going to turn it over to Nadia.
Hello, my name is Nadia, and I've been working with young children for about 16 years. 11 of them have been in Charlotte. And my degrees are in early childhood education and curriculum and instruction. I also went to Montessori training for the primary years. Mr. Rogers is my hero. And I am passionate about advocating for developmentally appropriate practices for young children, which is why I'm super excited to have returned to Open Door. This is the third time I've worked here, and I am really glad to be here doing this program.
Susie, want to kick us off?
Yes. I'm going to give you a little bit of Open Door School history. Open Door School opened in 1966 by our founder, Sue Riley. She was a church member at the time of the Unitarian Church, and she was wanting to start a school that was racially integrated, and there was a great need for that in Charlotte at the time. And so when she opened the school, it was a private kindergarten. Sue was a humanitarian and an activist and a huge advocate for children and child development and appropriate practices for children. She was kind of way ahead of her time, and we still love and miss Sue and talk about her and celebrate her each year at our Founders Day parade in the spring. ODS was a school first, and that's one thing that's really important to remember, because now that we have grown and we are larger and we have a full day program, we need to make that distinction between school and daycare and between our philosophy and the philosophies of other preschools. ODS is a school that follows a school calendar. We start our school year in September and we end our half-day program in May, while the full day class, which is a class of 17 children, multi-age, ages 3 to 5, goes all year round, but it also follows a school calendar and school holidays. So you need to be aware of that when signing up for full day, just so that you know when we are closed. Let's see. I'm sorry, y'all.
You got this.
I know. We are different from other preschools because we let children, y'all, oh my God. I'll
Is it child-led?
I know. I'm just like, oh, I've never been this
Fine.
before, but it's all right. I'll get rid of it. We are a child-led preschool. The children have a say in developing our curriculum because we go based on child interests. We get to know the children. We firmly believe that the relationship is the most important thing. The relationship with the children, the relationship with the families. We are going to put the relationships first, and then we get to know the children. And as we get to know them, we find out what their interests are. We use their interests to develop our curriculum, and they help us with that, and they have a say in that. We focus largely on positive language and conflict resolution, and we help use our knowledge of positive language to teach the children how to resolve conflicts on their own. And that's a huge part of our curriculum, and that's probably what we are most known for, and we are probably most proud of.
I just want to say also that through observation with children instead of testing. We observe and use anecdotal notes.
Yes.
And we're also building off of their weaknesses and strength to lead us into the curriculum, which Susie will probably talk about sequentially and all the other things that play into that.
Yes. And we're not the traditional type of preschool in that you aren't going to see worksheets or themes or a letter of the week. We do talk about letters and numbers and things that are important to children and these life skills that they will need to know, but we do it in a way that is important to them. So if we're talking about letters, we will talk about the letters in their name, or if they want to read something, or if they point something out, we might say, oh, that starts with an S, just like your name starts with an S, things like that. So we try to build those connections that are based on their interests at the time and what's really important to them. We also plan our curriculum. We have an emergent curriculum, which means that we start with their interests and we build on that. And we also add in sequential planning, like Sheila mentioned, which means that we start with few and then add many. So we may start with a few blocks in the block area, and then we gradually add more as we see their interest build and their buildings get larger and their ideas get bigger. We go from simple to more complex ideas and thoughts, and you hear that a lot in our group time discussions. At the beginning of the year, we get to know each other. By the end of the year, we're solving class problems together. So we also kind of go from concrete to more abstract. Our ideas get bigger and broader and not always able to touch, but we have to think about where the children are, what they're trying to work through, and come up with solutions together and ideas together as we move along the school year. I've said before that we use positive language, and we really work hard to facilitate conflict resolution and help children negotiate, because we want children to be able to communicate their needs and get their needs met on their own in a peaceful way. Another thing I would love to mention about curriculum is that we do lots of artwork at Open Door, but you aren't going to see the pre-cut crafty type of artwork here that you see at other schools. All of our art is open-ended. The materials are placed out on a table or an area for the children to choose what they want to do and how they want to build or make or draw or paint. It's definitely more process oriented, and we don't care as much about the outcome. Sometimes the children do, and they are proud of their work and they want to show it off, but the outcomes are really up to them. They get to use the materials as they explore and as they see fit. If I were to choose a type of school that we were most aligned with, most like, I would say we are most like a democratic school. A democratic school, if you want to learn more about that, you can read about Peter Gray and the Sudbury Academy. But democratic schools treat everyone equally. All ideas are important. All ideas are listened to. The children help plan the curriculum. The children help plan the rules in the classroom. Listening and building those relationships are extremely important, and respect for all individuals involved is really, really, really important. One of the things that you will hear us talk about, in order to align really well with our specific philosophy, it helps if you are or are working to be an authoritative parent. Authoritative parenting is something that we will provide more information about at the end. We have some really great articles and websites about that topic. But basically, there are 4 types of parenting. There is authoritative, authoritarian, permissive, and uninvolved. Uninvolved is pretty self-explanatory. The parents are just kind of not there, withdrawn, absent, shut down. Permissive is, you hear it explained sometimes as letting the child rule the roost, but it's where the child makes decisions that are really inappropriate for the child to be making. Permissive parents may have children that don't feel as safe because it tends to be a little bit more chaotic. The parents say yes a whole lot because they don't want to hurt the child's feelings, or because it's easier, or for whatever reason. And then we have authoritarian, which many of us were raised on, which is more strict. Parents make all the rules, kind of goes along with the children should be seen and not heard as much. Tends to have harsher punishments. It's based on punishments and rewards very often. And then we have authoritative, which is talking, setting firm boundaries, but using kindness and firmness equally. And that's what we do a lot of parent ed about, is how to take these ideas that we use here at school and be an authoritative parent at home, because that's basically what we're doing here. We're authoritative teachers. Do you guys want to add anything?
I will jump in with
that?
a fun fact. A lot of early childhood research and data has proven that an emergent curriculum and things that focus on the process instead of the product, this meaningful learning, this child-led learning, and an authoritative way of interacting is all what is actually best for children and will show success later on. That's a surprising fact to hear because it's not like the norm. So I think that's good to keep in mind, especially if you're like, oh, I don't really know about this. Like, go look up some research because it will definitely affirm your decision.
Yes, and like I said, we're going to give you resources at the end
Sure.
of this presentation.
This might be a good time just to say, like you were saying, if you're not sure about it, don't let the fact that you don't know that much about, positive speaking and knowing when to step in and giving choices and all of this that we talk about from here on, it's going to sound difficult and almost like a whole new way of living. That's okay. And if you're not going to get it right away. It takes a while. Some of us it took 2 or 3 years to feel comfortable, let alone master it. So I just want to put that out because that is a feedback that I get from parents, new parents a lot of times. It's like, I don't even want when we were open to come in the classroom. I'm afraid to be in a classroom because I'm afraid I'm going to say the wrong thing and I feel like I'm not doing the right thing and I don't want to make big mistakes. That's okay. We're there to model and help you. We're not judging you because we all had to start somewhere. Most of us were not brought up with this type of philosophy. No, I certainly wasn't. But it is refreshing once you learn it and it makes life so much easier. So don't beat yourself up. It will come.
Mm-hmm. So with that being said, today we're going to touch on 3 of the top things that we think make us different, how we implement them at school, and how you can begin to implement them at home. And those 3 things are boundaries, language, and choices. So we're going to give a little synopsis of each and an example of when it could be used at school and an example from the moms of when it might be used at home. Okay, so let's start with boundaries. Have you heard the phrase, mean what you say and say what you mean? That's basically boundaries. And we all know that children are going to test us. That is literally their job in life. And it is our job as adults to help them feel safe by setting boundaries. It's really important to remember that it is not our job to keep the kids happy all of the time. It's actually most helpful for us to facilitate experiences where children can feel sadness and disappointment and frustration, and for us to be able to help guide them through those feelings so they are eventually able to guide themselves through those feelings later on.
Self-help skills, yes.
Yeah.
We talk about self-help skills and usually they're more academically looked at, but this is a foundation for life.
Mm-hmm.
These really are skill sets that are going to take with them.
Yeah.
Self-regulation.
Yes, yes.
So a school example for a boundary, and we're taking this from one of the questions that was sent in about asking how we deal with teacher preferences at home or at school so they can use it at home when there's a parental preference involved. And so this is what I might say to a child that has shown a teacher preference if we're out on the playground. So I might say, I know that you said you want Miss Leslie to take you inside to the bathroom, but she's helping another friend right now, so I'm going to have to take you. And then we're going to go. We're not going to give hesitation. But while we're walking, I might ask that child, oh, did that make you feel disappointed? Oh, I understand. You know, I felt disappointed yesterday when blah, blah, blah. Or, yeah, it's important to be flexible sometimes, even if you're disappointed, you know, and just talk about it. Tell them how you feel, but matter of fact, that you mean what you say and you say what you mean, and then you go and do the thing. So that's just an example about how you could set a boundary at school.
Yes, and if you are working on that at home, say your child prefers one parent over another parent, then, you know, with relationship building being our base, you're always wanting to build a relationship with your child, both parents, and it helps if each parent can have different times that they spend with the child all together, separately. You know, those things all help. But if your child is with one parent for the majority of the day, for example, and then chooses that parent at bedtime because that is what they are most comfortable with, then you need to follow Nadia's suggestions, I think, and say the same thing. I'm not available tonight, but other parent is. They're going to put you to bed tonight. Maybe you can choose what book you're going to read or what animal you're going to sleep with, but you know, parent B is going to put you to bed tonight and I am going to do whatever. Just be matter of fact about it. It also helps to build trust if the parent that is preferred is very confident in the transference, you know, of taking the child from your safe arms and placing the child in the safe arms of the other parent, because that shows that there is trust between parents. Parents are on the same page, and it helps to make the child feel safe. It's okay for the child to have a preference. It is, and sometimes it hurts a parent's feelings, but trying to take the emotion out of it and be the grown-up and the parent who is not preferred, if they can say, I know you want the other parent, but I'm going to be here and I'm going to take care of you, and I'm so glad I get to do this with you tonight. That's
And Nadia used the word flexibility, and sometimes
Yes.
we think, well, does a child know what that means? This is an absolute great opportunity to teach them about things aren't always how we want them to be. And what do we do with that? It's okay to feel sad about it.
right.
It's not okay to hit and scream and
Yes.
yell about it.
Yes.
But here's what we're going to do.
Right.
If they do go into that mode and they
Yes.
do lose it, then they do that. But you still have to follow through and do that, because the worst thing you can do is say, okay, I'll go get parent B, or parent A.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Please don't falter on that, because you're teaching them to manipulate.
Right.
That's something we deal with sometimes. We can see, quite frankly, sometimes we can see what works at home, and we have to work around that and say, I know you're really upset. I can give you a minute to calm down, or I can give you a minute and then I'm going to have to pick you up, or you can walk with me. But, we can't give into that. Once you give into that, they've won. Anytime you get into a struggle like that and let that power, that's too much power for them. It's overwhelming and they don't feel safe. And that's why you get the temperature. They're like, I don't know what to do with all this power. So that is one thing that I learned, as you spoke about early on when you're learning things, is that even if it tugs at my heartstring, I have to be strong and do what I know is best for the child.
I'm smiling because when you said that, that makes me think of a story my mom told me. When I was like 8 or 9, I wanted to go to the pool one summer, and I was like just having a fit about going to the pool. And she says that I stopped and I said, have I screamed enough yet? So, I mean,
Did that
not to not
Yeah.
to hate on my mom's parenting skills from 1990, but I mean, that's what they learn
Yeah.
when that behavior
It is a
changes your
learned
mind.
behavior.
That
It
was
is.
not a firm boundary that Sharon set. But
But we do the best we can.
we
where
do.
we're at.
That
We
is
do.
true.
That's exactly
And
right.
True.
all of us have been there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, moving on from boundaries to language. And Susie spoke about this a little bit. Framing things in the positive as much as possible, and saying what you want instead of what you don't want is the most clear and the most kind thing that we can do for children with our language. And when I was a very young teacher, like, don't run in the halls, or, you know, don't run inside is something that was very normal. But like, as I learned and as I read and as I researched, like, I found out, you know, saying please walk or we walk inside is going to be a lot easier for the children to follow, because if you say don't run, they have to think in their mind, well, what am I supposed to do, and then do that thing. So that takes out an extra step. If you just tell them please walk or we walk inside, then being clear and being kind is how you can let them know what the expectation is. And also trying to take out the judgment from your words and the tone of your voice is also going to help you feel more successful. Because whenever we nag on children, like, we don't feel good about it as grown-ups either. You know, you don't want to always feel that way.
And it's stress inducing.
It is, and it gives you more stress, and none of us need more stress right now. Like,
Right.
Nobody needs more stress
Yes.
right now. So I think that's also something to keep in mind, is taking the judgment out of your words and your voice. So, school example. So imagine a child knocked over a tower that one of their friends was building. They're working in the block area. Now, I'm going to say this a few different ways so you can feel the difference as if you were the child. Okay, what if I said, oh, look what you did. Your friend must be so sad. Why did you do that? Okay, like, I'm not yelling. I'm not like hitting the child, but my tone of voice is very full of shame and blame onto that child. So they're already going to feel bad about it. They're probably not going to want to help fix the problem because they're maybe crying. So taking that to the other extreme, I might say, uh-oh, what are we going to do? The tower fell down, like a very helpless type tone, like, oh, like, we believe that children are super capable, and that is not the way that you speak to a capable child. So now I'm going to like go into non-judgmental mode. Okay. So I might say, all the blocks from your friend's tower are on the floor now. How are you going to help them fix it? Right? You just notice something, and then you ask them a question for how they're going to fix the problem. Now, that child might say, I don't want them to help me fix it, and that's okay. But if they do, you've given them the opportunity to be able to help solve the problem. Yeah.
Very non-judgmental, very matter of fact. And let's start over. Let's move on.
Mm-hmm. Not in trouble, not mad at you. Just,
Like you said,
Yeah.
say what you mean what you say, without being mean. My thing, without being mean.
Yep.
Yeah. Because children know. They feel your emotions.
mm-hmm.
They do, and while it is harder to remain non-emotional at home with siblings, I would suggest taking the exact same approach at home with siblings. State what you see without having a whole lot of emotion or shame and blame attached to your language. Say what you see or state the problem, and then ask the children how are we going to solve this problem, and try really hard to listen to each one if you can. Sometimes you have to stop an action right in the moment if they're hurting each other. Sometimes you might need to take a break and say, this is a problem that doesn't look like we're going to be able to solve right this second, so let's take a few minutes and think about it and cool down and come back and talk about it. But often you can, just interject a little bit and say, I see that you two are having an argument over the blocks. How can we fix this problem so that you're both happy? How can we come up with a win-win situation? How can we figure this out peacefully? And I want to mention again that this is the authoritative parenting style. Just trying to listen, not be judgmental. You don't need to give rewards and punishments. You don't need to bribe. Just say what you see and say, we need to solve this problem. How are we going to solve the problem? And sometimes consequences do come about, but I do need to say something about consequences in that they need to be rational and they need to be related to what's going on. So if two children are fighting and can't seem to come to an agreement about the blocks, then maybe the blocks are put away and we don't play with them now. We save them and wait and play with them later after we come up with a plan. It's hard in the moment because siblings fight a lot and they have things, that come up very regularly, and it's hard to stay consistent and it's hard to stay calm. But if you can really practice taking your emotion out of it, then it really helps to talk them through it and to help them learn the tools that they need to negotiate and to resolve conflict without you having to intervene all the time. They're going to need a lot when they're little because they want their needs met right now. And their emotions are involved. So by staying calm and giving choices, which we'll talk about more too, but by staying calm and using positive language, non-judgment, it's a lot easier to come to a resolution quicker.
Just remembering you're modeling what you want them to learn.
Exactly.
You're modeling it, and
Exactly.
just like little sponges, they're going to pick it up one way or the other.
Yeah.
So the more positive, the better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I hate to keep jumping in with stories. This is a
No,
quick
go
one.
ahead. Let's hear it.
So one time in my previous teaching, I was by myself with a class of, 23 children, and it was like rest time, but it wasn't actually a rest time because it was like 20 minutes long, but they were all supposed to be on their spaces, quiet. It wasn't optimal for anyone. This is when my assistant teacher was...
It was in the schedule.
Yes,
Yeah, it was in
the
the schedule.
assistant teacher was taking the break at the time, and my job at that time is to make sure all of the children are quiet, okay, and on their floor, basically. Wasn't a cot, wasn't a mat, just whatever.
A sit
And
spot.
I got very frustrated, and at one point I just said, you know what? If you all were the teacher, what would you do right now?
Mm-hmm.
Like I had already said, remember to be peaceful. Remember, I already said all the things, and I was just like, and these were 4 and 5-year-olds, and somebody said, I would take 10 deep breaths, Miss Nadia, and I was like, oh, okay. And somebody else was like, I would walk away, and I was like, oh. And in that moment, I was like, okay, maybe I'm doing okay here,
Mm-hmm.
because like they didn't say like I would take away our recess, or they didn't say any of
Yeah.
those things. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
okay, I've been doing the things. And it was a good reflection
it's
because
getting
I was
good.
so frustrated.
No, I'm so glad you said that
Yeah.
example, because I've done that at home too. I've done that with my kids. Okay, if you were the mom, what would you do right now? And sometimes it gets funny. Sometimes, but it usually lightens the mood, or at least it gives them a little bit of power. And sometimes, and if they
That's what I was
come
gonna
up,
say.
and if they come up with an idea that you are absolutely not okay with, then you could say, well, how would that make both children feel? Is that, is that a situation
that
that's a
play out?
win-win? Yeah, let's think about that. If we were to do that, what would happen? So it's just another opportunity for relationship building, connections, and high level thinking.
And
It's,
show respect for them.
yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
value what they're thinking.
Problem
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And it shows them we can learn from them. We learn from them all the time. But they don't think of us as like the learners, right?
Yeah,
They
and
think
that
of
we're
us
not
as
perfect.
the teachers.
And we don't
Yeah.
know it all.
No,
And sometimes
we
we need
don't.
help. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's true. So, okay. So headed into choices as a nice segue. We try to give as much choice and as much opportunity for children to assert their independence as possible. And also there are just some times when we need kids to do something that we need them to do. And we know that you experience that at home, and we experience that at school as well. So giving choices is something that can really, really help with not entering into a power struggle. As Sheila mentioned, once you're into a power struggle, you have already lost the game. So as the grown-up, we have to make sure that the choices that we are giving are actually going to get us the desired outcome that we need from the child at that moment. Unlike saying, well, if you don't come here right now, I'm going to leave you here, little Nadia, in the store running around. Like, I'm glad my mom's not watching this. Like, I feel like I'm hating on her. No, my mom is great. I love her. She loves me. We're great. But, you know, we learn and we do better.
90% of us can totally relate.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
We were that little child too.
Yes, exactly.
Know better, do better. I was
Yes.
a little naughty. So
Naughty.
yes. So knowing that we give the choices, well, you can come by yourself or you can hold my hand and we can go together. Either way, the child is coming with you. And that's safer than leaving your child at Kmart.
And can I say, little Nadia knew her mom was not going to leave her there.
Yes, she
Right.
did. Yes, she knew.
So you travel too. Yeah, don't. That's just that gets you nowhere because children will say, well, they know, like you're not going to leave me here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or even if they do feel that, do you want your child to be that frightened
Yeah.
and insecure? So
It's true.
not a good choice.
Yeah, not a good choice. And let me tell you that giving choices that are both valid is a really hard skill and it still takes practice. I've been
Mhm.
doing it for, I don't know, like 12 or 13 years.
Think before you give them.
Yes.
Yes, think in your mind to decide what the choices are and are you okay with both of them before it comes out of your mouth, because you can get yourself into trouble, and I've done that before. So we're going to give a really simple school choice example that we give every day. This comes out of my mouth. Everyone tries to use the bathroom before we go out to the playground. Which one would you like to go in, the right side or the left side? Or even the right stall or the left stall. Either way, we're going to try before we go to the playground. And I know that sometimes grown-ups can't wait around. Like if the child is like, neither, I'm not making a choice. And that happens sometimes. And when we have the time, I have to say I'm thankful to be in a situation when that's happening. We have 4 teachers in the full day classroom. So usually we can wait a few minutes. But I understand, like at home, sometimes you don't have that time to wait. So we understand that you might need to set a boundary in that time. But that's also something that you need to think about what you want to enter in and what your priorities are. So
Yes. And at home, there are many opportunities to practice these choices, and it's always good, like Nadia said, to have 2 choices. You don't want to be too attached to either one. Either outcome should be fine. Say, for an example, a child pushes a younger sibling out of the way rather than asking them to move, or rather than saying, excuse me, then you might stop and say, it's not okay for you to push your brother out of the way when you want to get by. So you can either say, excuse me, or you can walk around them. You want to give 2 choices that either one is okay. You don't want to blame and shame, like Nadia was saying, about their actions. Why did you push your brother? You feel that way sometimes, but you want to kind of stay calm and remember everything is a learning experience. So if you can just stay calm and present the choices, then it makes life a whole lot easier. If a child is playing and doesn't want to leave and you have to get somewhere at a certain time, then you just be matter of fact and honest and say, we have to be at the doctor's office by 10:15. That means we have to leave now. Do you want to walk to the car by yourself, or do you want me to carry you? But just letting the child know that they are going to the car and you are going to leave. And that's okay. You're being firm, you're being kind, you're being consistent. And it's hard because these situations present themselves over and over and over again, and staying on top of it and always coming up with 2 good choices is not easy. It's like Nadia said, it's something that takes a lot of practice. And I've noticed as a parent, sometimes my choices are 2 really good choices and sometimes they're not the best, but as long as I'm not totally attached to either one, as long as either choice is okay, then you're teaching them, through the process rather than punishing or blaming or shaming or bribing, which sometimes parents do too, But this is a learning process. You practice, you get better and better. And it takes a while. It takes a while to feel really comfortable with the language, with the choices. It takes a lot of
And disciplining yourself
practice.
to follow through.
Yes.
Mhm.
And helping them, and again, like, I know you're disappointed. I know you really want to play. I'd rather stay here too, but we have
Yes,
to
yeah.
go, and that's just the way it is, and so that they learn these are things, like, I'd rather not stop for that red light, but I gotta stop.
Right.
There's things that they have to learn in life, and you're doing them
Mhm.
a bigger favor by teaching them that now and how to react to that with that
Mhm.
disappointment or frustration. Then giving them another 5 minutes and get literally really quickly. A parent sat down on the playground with me one time and said, "I got this problem when I pick up in the afternoon. She always cries and doesn't want to leave." And I said, "Have you set a limit for her?" And told her, "Okay, in 5 minutes we're going to leave." He said, "Yes." And I said, "So then what do you do when the 5 minutes are up?" She cries and I usually give her 5 more. So I literally sat him up and I said, "Go tell her 5 minutes." So he sat there and I kind of watched my watch, and he was talking, and I said, 5 minutes is up. He said, "Yeah, but I want to tell you something." I said, "Go get your child and leave, because you're teaching her that you don't mean what you say, and you're teaching her to manipulate you. I will talk with you later about this, but you said you're in 5 minutes. You need to go get her. And when you go to get her, you say, da da da, I'm going to pick you up, or you can walk, but we have to go now." So I literally had the opportunity to walk him through that. And he came to me later and said, "I've been practicing that, and it's getting so much easier, and it's so much more pleasant, because then I start talking to her as we're leaving. So what was your favorite thing today?" Or that kind of thing. So it takes time, but it does pay off. Because imagine
It
if we
does.
didn't have these skills with 16, 17 children in
Right.
class, and sometimes you're with 6 of them and one doesn't want to move. Like, you just have to, you have to have some tools in your pocket.
And it's like Alfie Kohn says in his book, if you put the relationship first, if you consistently really make that your goal to put the relationship first, then that means you're still respecting yourself, but you're keeping the relationship as the most important thing. And parents are going to get sick, they're going to get tired. Sometimes you can't think of 2 choices right away, so you just say, "We're going to do this." It's like sometimes you'll slip into the authoritarian, sometimes you'll slip down into the permissive, but ideally, you're working toward that authoritative. This is how, these are your choices. This is what we can do. We can do this, we can do this, but we do have to do this. And so it's it takes a lot of practice, but you got to forgive yourself
And support.
when you mess
So
up.
if you've got a partner, whether that
Yes.
partner is
Yes.
a living partner or a grandparent or a nanny, whatever support you have, get on the same page and call each other on it. Like, "Hey, how about a choice?" That kind of thing. Or, "Hey, how about you go get a cup of coffee?" And then you take tag off of that and help each other, because we do that for each other as well.
Yeah.
Whether it's me as a director, the teacher's the teacher,
Yeah.
we the floater, whatever, we all are on the same page, and that is a God-given gift.
Yeah. It helps.
We really know that we're all working on the same page and we're all using the same language, but we're human, and so sometimes we just have to say,
Yeah.
"I've been here since 7. Can you please?"
Yeah. Tag team. Help each other out. But yeah,
And do
forgive
that.
yourself
Home
if
and
you
school.
mess up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And know that we're here too to help you. So if you have questions about specific things, or if you just need help, like thinking of some example choices for a certain situation that you're having happen over and over and over, and you can't get there, just reach out, because we're here for you. Just like we're here for your children, and we know that it will work better if we're all on the same page. So we're here.
And if something is working at home, please let us know. Because sometimes just that one word, you're using the same word. "Oh, that's what Mommy says." Okay. So both ways that works.
Okay, so as we mentioned earlier, we have some resources that we want to share with you. And just like children, we know that adults also have preferences for the ways that they like to learn best. And so we kept this in mind when we made the document that we're going to share with you. Some of you might want to do like a book club with some of the other grown-ups in your child's class. Or some of you might want to read an article with a partner or a friend and have a discussion about it. or maybe some of you might just want to look for a very short tip that you can implement really easily scrolling through your favorite social media. All of those things are included in this resource. So there's something for everyone. We got you no matter how much time you have today or tomorrow. So we just want to share. We've got books, articles, websites, and then we have Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We didn't want to overwhelm anybody. We only did 5 for each article, so top 5, or each category, top 5. And if there are favorites that you know of that are not on here, please share with us. Post them in the ODS Families Facebook group so other people can see it as well. And we would love for you to check that out. Also, do you want to tell them about the exciting thing?
Sure. If you watched this presentation, if you would like to be entered into a raffle to win our exciting swag bag, then respond with an email. Send us an email. Tell us something you liked about this presentation, something you learned, or maybe a tool that you're going to add to your parenting toolbox. And your name, your email will get you 1 entry into the raffle. And then early next week, before we're out for the fall break, Thanksgiving break, we will draw a name, and that person will win a special ODS swag bag to take home.
I just remembered that we had one more question that came to
Oh,
us
yes.
after the
Yes.
presentation.
Yay, good
Yay.
one.
Yay.
So, Sheila.
So one of the
Yes.
one of the questions was, nap time, which is a very common, our bedtime or nap time for us
Yep.
is a very common. So sometimes we have children who don't want to sleep for nap, and sometimes we have children who don't want to go down at bedtime. The parents shared with us some of the things that they already tried. One of the things that I suggest is avoid making it feel like punishment. Like, make it feel like just part of the routine of the day. So don't get something excited started and then say, oh, it's your bedtime. So turn off the TV, don't be playing, and then all of a sudden, oh, it's time to go get a bath. Ease into it so it just feels like part of the day. Have your light setting, read your books, have your routine, whether it's the sound, the background music or background sound that's playing, those type of things. Do everything you can to make it conducive to sleeping. There was one more thing that we kind of looked up. What was it? When you looked it up?
Oh,
So-
like
the
a hatch machine?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you mentioned?
that was kind of new to me. But whatever, try different things that work for your child. Back in the day, my grandchild loved the ocean. It was a really great, back then it was a cassette, but a great cassette that I would put on that not only had ocean sounds, but there was a woman telling a story about a whale. So it had whale sounds, and it was about a family of whales, but she spoke very softly, and as it went on, she got softer and softer, and the music got softer and lower. So one thing I found is sometimes you can have the music up a little bit higher just to get their attention, but then have it come down so they have to really listen to hear it, and then they'll finally, they have to listen so hard they fall asleep. Those kind of things. Get to know your child and know what's going to work for them, because some that might be too overstimulating. A well sound might be like, oh, what's that?
Right.
So get to know your child, and we do this even in the nap room. For some groups, we play music. I know that I happen to be Native American. We played flute music, and that's worked wonderfully. And others, it was like, "Ooh, what's that sound?" And
Got
then they
them
start
excited.
imitating the sound. So get to know your child just like we have to hear, and then implement that. And the other thing is just you have to be patient.
Yeah, and
Go
if
ahead.
you also, it's a good idea. I've used this a bunch as well. If you take the pressure of sleep off, like bedtime can seem so, they may not want to go to sleep, they may not feel like they're tired,
It's more for
and
us.
so if you just say, well, it's okay. It's okay if you don't sleep, but it's time to stay in your room. It's time to stay in your bed. It's time to rest your body.
Put the boundaries.
Yeah, and it's it's about setting that boundaries and what you can live with. I mean, if they're in their room and in their bed looking at books quietly or playing with stuffed animals quietly, can you live with that? Are you okay with that? Maybe take the stress off of it's time to go to sleep. Close your eyes, you know.
And plan
You
for
know.
that.
Yeah,
Like,
and
if
plan
you're
for
going to
that.
read them a story, if you usually read two, then maybe you read one story and say, now you can look at these books for 20 minutes and that kind of thing. So yeah, just you after a while they will learn to self-soothe and go to sleep, but you have to figure out what works for you. There is no magic wand. There
Yeah.
really isn't.
Yeah.
We find that out all the time in the nap room, and sometimes what works at the beginning of the year doesn't work mid-year to the end of the year because these children have changed,
Right.
and we have to change. Sometimes we have to move their beds, or we have to move, change the music. So just like anything else, cater to the child.
Sorry, one of my best friends has a 4-year-old. I know this question came specifically about a 3-year-old, but I think it could work with the 3-year-old also, maybe, depending on the child. It kind of takes an idea that we use in the classroom, and they made a visual schedule for that child. So like it had like a picture of brushing teeth and a picture of her brushing her hair and all of the things that lead up to bedtime. And that really worked for her because she likes to have a routine and she likes to feel like she's checking something off, and it made it less of a power struggle for my friend. So she was really happy about that.
They feel a little bit of control that way too.
Mhm. Yeah.
And again, it feels like part of the routine. It's just a natural thing we do.
Mhm.
Yeah, because even with us with potty training, it happens naturally with us, quicker for us because everybody's going to the bathroom at this time, and it's just what we do. So
Yeah.
sometimes that that might be helpful.
Well,
So usually
That
this is the
wraps it
time we say if you have any questions, but we
Right.
can't do that.
we did
But
that
we
before.
thank you for the questions, and yes, reach out to us at any time. We hope that this video is helpful. We don't see you every day, so we just want you to be safe out there. Take care of yourselves, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.